Hello and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod. I am Jürgen Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G.
And today we have watched the entire history of You, completing, in a sense, our project to watch all seasons of Black Mirror in reverse order, with the exception of season 7.
But that's not our
fault.
fault.
Which came out while we already started recording.
It's a monumental day. We are free.
Well, except
on podcaster's neck, a Black Mirror yoke.
And yeah, Jim, what do you say we recommend our listeners go and partake of this episode?
Yes. But like, if you have if you're sensitive to social cringe,
stay for the content warnings. I also recommend that you watch this episode if you have stayed for the content warnings, which are not so much numerous as just intense.
It's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's like gore, and it's not a lot, but it's intense.
Yeah, there's a intense
I guess
section.
Gore / self-harm in a very broad sense.
Yeah, we can say gore / self-harm.
Domestic abuse and surveillance, sort of in a big tandem pile.
Yeah, and this is about 80% of the episode's runtime. So
yeah,
like,
this is sort of the episode
in a nutshell.
Yeah. And, of course, a little bit of alcohol abuse and drunk driving to weave in with that.
Yeah, just a touch.
And I think that gets us through the major problem, or the major pain points, if you are sensitive to these matters. Because, like, I have no experience of domestic abuse. Still, like, ooh.
Yeah, it gets you into the feel of it. Asterisk, this is not a pleasant feeling. But I would say it's fairly well pulled off on that front. It's rough, man.
Yeah, no, this episode, like, it's a rough watch.
What it does, it focuses on real hard, right? Like, we have so much of our catalog of this podcast is, I see what they were going for, but they didn't really focus on it. We cannot say that for this episode.
No. Oh, also, and this is a podcast and Black Mirror first and only special episode, because this episode was not written by Charlie Brooker, according to the credits at least.
Despite everything that goes into this episode, which we will get into shortly. But yes, it was... Sorry, who was the writer again?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, but you have a Wikipedia page open. We can check this.
Yeah, no, it's...
Dun, 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 dun.
Jesse Armstrong.
Jesse Armstrong, who I can only assume must share a soul with Charlie Brooker.
He's got 2 BAFTAs.
Well, there you go. But yes, shall we get into it? Our kind of final episode of Black Mirror, sort of.
Well, we have another season that's longer than the season before us.
Yeah, I think twice as long. But in a way, I think we can celebrate. It's a milestone at the very least.
Yeah, it is a milestone. And I think next episode we'll really have to go into that.
Yeah. So, we have a guy.
Yeah.
And not even worse, a lawyer. Who we start off with. And,
there's I need to make a confession to the podcast here. I have some Germanic heritage. And...
Terrible.
Well, so do you.
Well, hey, don't out me. What the
hell? Well, you also have the chocolate, so you know. Anyway, there is a phrase in German for a face that invites you to want to slap it, which is Backpfeifengesicht. And we have our protagonist with one of those.
Yes.
And initially, we're sort of... We meet him during a very painful job interview, essentially.
Yeah.
And, we just get a flash of him looking like an annoying dickhead. And then we're sort of induced to feel sympathetic to him.
Because the people he's talking to are worse. And, they're essentially going, let's use surveillance to sue people retroactively. And he's like, I don't know how I feel about that. And then they go, really? And then he goes, no, okay, fine, I've been on it. I just need this job.
Yeah.
Essentially. So we have a moment of like, maybe this guy is less bad than he seems. This is also like, most of this intro is kind of non-consequential for the rest of the story, but it does introduce our central technology here, the grain.
Yeah, the grain is like technology grain you have behind your ear that records everything you see and hear.
Yes, and this is apparently like, as I suppose a lot of sci-fi and there's a lot of Black Mirror does, this is the foundation of this entire episode, and seemingly a lot of society has been reworked around this.
Well,
so we get a little. Go on, Jorgen. What's the well?
like one person. So let's do this properly, because like this is a major thing I'm thinking about with this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because fundamentally, we are introduced to this technology as something extremely well established in society.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, the cat's upside down and he looks really stupid.
Podcast is looking exceptionally cute today, and it's rough, man. Podcasting is a great cross to bear.
Oh yeah, it's such an adorable cross to bear. And like all of society seems to like both like have this as a like taken for granted thing, though at some point we meet a character who's like, yeah, no, I'm fine without it actually. But generally speaking, like nobody's like, oh man, I didn't have one of those, and then I got one when I was like 17 when they first came out, and I needed to like upgrade 3 times till they stopped glitching and like distorting the audio so we all sounded like Smurfs. You know, these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But like that's not in the picture. This is a established technology, and yet there are zeros like social norms around this technology are not like cogent. Like people just like have extremely different vibes on what's okay and not okay to do. And like that's strange to me.
I think that's interesting. I think we can get into it a bit more, but I suppose what you need to know so far, like as mentioned, it records everything you do. You can at any point flash back to it, and just over and over review it if you want. And I don't know, I guess we get a quick shot of like some TSA agents basically like, show me everything you've seen in the last week. Okay, yeah. You're good to board a plane. So this is a fairly utilitarian intro, I would say. It's just like, here's this technology. Now, let's continue. And
also, just as a point of order, extremely fun. Like, this is extremely beatable, but to the TSA. But of course they still do it because
it's a TSA. That's what they do. They love ineffective security.
Yeah.
But yes, we then get to the party, which is it's rough, man.
Yeah, and our protagonist, who we have not and will not bother to name, has Jodie Whittaker as his beautiful and perfect wife.
Mm-hmm.
Except she is maybe not entirely so perfect. Content warning for infidelity.
Is that okay, yeah, sure. I suppose.
Yeah. And you know, we're basically like spending this entire party like setting up Chekhov's guns.
Yeah, it's because it's essentially about him, his wife interacting with like, I want to say like 5 or 6 people who will not be returning.
Well, except for 2 of them, right?
Yeah, 2 of them. There's Jonas, because I like having names for characters. There's Jonas, who is sleazy, I want to say.
He's a bit sleazy. That's it.
Yeah, I knew a guy like this in high school, and I was like, oh, this hits painful points for me on some level.
Yeah,
of having sleazy guy who
I only hang out with virtuous people, so I couldn't relate.
But yeah, sleazy guy kind of dominates things socially. To be honest, most people do not seem to super like this guy.
Yeah. However, Jodie Whittaker really does.
Yeah.
And basically, we're just setting up a bunch of notes like, is there something going on between these two? for a lot of the party, and we're introducing a second relevant character, and we're introducing a term, which is getting gouged.
Yes, which I think the implication is that this woman had a grain and then, like, was, like, someone
She was robbed.
Yeah.
Someone, like, backstreet surgeried her at knife point to steal her grain and this is quoting or paraphrasing the episode very directly, some wealthy Chinese pervert.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah, it's yeah. Let's not get into that for about a moment. But yeah, we basically get introduced to the concept. Like, you can have these things removed. It sounds a bit risky, but, like, not to the point of like impossible.
Well, it sounds risky in her case because it was a literal robbery, and this is called being gouged.
Yes.
And she was like, they couldn't put on right back in, for, I was presumably in a bad way, and I kind of liked not having it, which, like, I wouldn't want surgery to put one right back in me after that rough. Sort of thing happened.
I will say, there's a tiny detail in this scene that I kind of like, because I think it's Jonas or someone who basically goes like, oh, yeah, that's a thing these days, isn't it? Going grainless? And I'm just like, something about that I actually think is quite good, like, as a writing flourish, to be like, this thing is so usual that people are like, oh yeah, like, those hippies, like this upper middle class sort of dinner party, they're chatting about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, some people go off the grid and get their grains removed. I don't know, it's cute.
Yeah, and to be fair, she does not have a very relevant appearance after this, but she is a notable character nonetheless. There's another not notable character, but she gets to do a little bit of exposition about the fallibility of human memory, because there's a lady who works at the grain company or whatever.
Yeah. And I think, it's just like a fair point, right? Like, this is a truth of human memory. We warp it a great deal after the fact of us recording it. So it makes sense that, like, this is not fundamentally altering. Like, this is going from our actual human working memories. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an interesting point. Notably, the episode does repeat this, because they actually watch through this scene again, and I think it starts exactly at, like, oh yeah, like, a bunch of these human memories are fallible. So the episode wants us to pay attention to that, at least a little bit. Yeah.
And my understanding is that they're saying, like, this is why you need the grain to have the accurate recollection.
My impression was that the grain itself might be flawed in that way, because else I don't really see what the point would be of.
Well, because, like, later in the episode they go back to use the grain as, like, the source of, like, the accurate information, right? The idea, if I'm parsing it correctly, is that it just, like, reads your nervous, like, throughput and goes like, all right, committed to storage.
I didn't interpret it like that. I interpret it as the same way that, like, this grain hooks onto, like, essentially what you're recording your memory, and that's what it itself records. But I think it might be ambiguous.
I generally, we tend to settle on that. I think here, I am just right.
Okay, sure, if you want to.
I think the idea of the episode is to have, like, not, like, it's, I guess there's, like, a perception accuracy question, but it's not, like, fallible in the way that memory is. The pitch is that it's an accurate recording from an accurate contemporaneous recording.
Sure. I disagree, but I think to the point of the episode, that's essentially, like, that's how it works in the episode.
Yeah.
I view it as a bit of missed opportunity, but, like, not important.
Yeah.
Anyway, this party is, as mentioned, essentially just Chekhov's armory of, like, here's a bunch of small interactions that will come up later. Yeah. And, the two of them, protagonist man and...
Jodie Whittaker.
Thank you. Jodie Whittaker go home with sleazebag literally in tow.
For a nightcap.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't like this guy. You like this guy. And she goes, you invited him in, and he was like, I didn't want to, and...
They immediately start a memory to resolve the argument. Yeah. And then they argue about their reading of the recording, like the social cues therein.
Yes, and essentially being like, you're more at fault for this. No, you're more at fault for this. Anyway, they pull up to their house and immediately go like, oh, yeah,
sure is late. What time is it anyway? Which is... That's so crazy.
It's remarkable that these people who are very clearly, like, in the language of cinema, painted as, these are disingenuous, inauthentic people, are really bad at coming up with social lies. Because there's like, as part of them looking back at the memory, they go like, wow, it's so early to call it a night. And then when they arrive at the house, they go, oh, it's so late.
Yeah, no, like, in terms of, like, non-verbal communication, like, everything that happens in this episode, in terms of non-verbal communication, is in caps lock.
It's remarkable. I also love it. I had to say, the sleazy guy's acting here is really good when he goes, I get what's going on, just so we're clear on that front. Like,
yeah,
I am being rejected. Like, it's whatever.
But... Yeah, and this isn't, like, a big point, but I think it's interesting to preserve. Like, the sleazy guy is painted as, like, someone who is quite socially capable and reasonably, like, aware and competent in social graces, just not observant at all times and sort of taking advantage every now and then.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. And then I think this is pretty much the point where we get into, like, the full meat of the episode.
Yeah.
Because the arguments begin.
Yep. And, like, there is, like, not that much to this part in terms of, like, narrative complexity. Because, basically, it's just, like, digging down further and further into our protagonist absolutely spiraling at the presence of this guy and reviewing memories to, like, detective that his wife has at some point dated him, or, you know, that's also a bit ambiguous in terms of, like, what language they're using. But it escalates to, like, oh, yeah, no, dated him for a week, dated him for a month, dated him for 6 months.
Yeah.
Went to him after they had an argument and slept with him at a time where maybe their baby was conceived.
Yes, there's also a very important part here. Well, like, specifically, this cheating happened during a time where it's implied that our protagonist essentially had roughly the same spiral 2 years ago. About another guy named Dan, who we did not meet in the episode.
Yeah, like, and that's, like, a bit of an interpretive leap, but it's definitely, like, we're given the...
I think they say something, I think she says something, like, early on in the argument about, like, this is kind of like when you had this freak out about Dan.
Yeah, then it's a bit more hinted. But yeah, you know, it's, like, all there, right? That this is... And we are given to understand in no uncertain terms that our protagonist has an extremely, like, unhealthy relationship with this device.
Yeah. More so than most. Because, like, you can probably assume there are more people out there obsessing, but, like, this episode is not really invested in other people having this obsessive behavior with this device. Yeah. The closest we get is Sleazy Guy going, like, sometimes I go back and look at, like, sex I've had and you know, masturbate to it. Yeah. That's it. And that's, like, in my reading at least, that's not very cool, dude. But, like, it's nowhere near what our protagonist does, right?
Yeah, no. He like, combs through, like, every moment of his past interactions to, like, get at some deeper truth. And this escalates into first him dragging the babysitter into an argument about the dinner party.
Which is notably also a point where he, as a joke, called her a pedophile, and he shows this scene to her, and she is
very uncomfortable.
She was already very uncomfortable. I think it transitions a bit into, like, like a little bit of anger as well, because like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, and like, I guess this is just like a point throughout all of this that everyone but the protagonist is acting like this is in fact like a crazy behavior, and
Yeah,
like everyone else is like, this is clearly out of line. They constantly say it. The babysitter's like, I do not want to get involved. The wife's like, you're spiraling or something, and he just like keeps chugging whiskey or something.
yeah,
And this escalates into him drunk driving to the sleazy guy's house, and at point of a broken bottle threatening him until he erases all of his memories so he can't jerk off to the wife Jodie Whittaker and him in the past anymore.
I do think specifically he's making him erase the memories of Jodie Whittaker.
I think the way I'm parsing it is that he is at gunpoint and he's just like, I'm erasing all of them, I guess. But the thing he wants erased is the memories of Jodie Whittaker, and that's the part that matters.
Mm.
And we get like a little bit of a slowdown when our protagonist wakes up, and sort of in retrospect goes like, all right, I think the idea here is that he blacks out.
Yeah, he blacks out. He has had way too much to drink, and he wakes up in this crashed car. And he looks back for his brain of like what he did, because we black out like in the episode. We get, like are cut off at the point where he kind of like bashes a bottle over a sleazy guy's head.
Like, and it's like, ooh, is there something going on here? But like we cut away to him being out of the house, so we're like, oh, he was yelled at to leave and he left, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then we get the memories of the blackout where he did in fact threaten the guy and get the police called on him.
Yeah, and we get a scene that is like completely silent, then apart from him just like placing his head in his hands, clearly having a like, holy shit, I went way out of control moment.
Yeah.
And then he comes home to Jodie Whittaker, his wife, and goes, did you use a condom?
Yeah. And this is where we find out that, oh no, he has, in fact, found a way to spiral even further, because he has enhanced a section of the memory that proves that, oh no, sleazy guy, had a memory in bed with his wife in his bedroom, 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Which is during the then explained Dan freakout. And it like gets really rough, and he's just like very straightforwardly threatening her into revealing these memories.
Yeah.
Like he does not have a weapon on him, but like he has just shown her himself threatening the guy with the broken bottle.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is an extremely like unpleasant experience.
Just like up until this, like I think we would have put in domestic abuse and surveillance as a trigger warning even before this, but this is the one where we like, no, this needs to be in caps, because this is really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be, and I honestly like, as messed up as it is to watch it, like I think it's done well.
Yeah. And yeah, he badgers her like into eventually like revealing this, and like the scene ends with him just like watching the memory of them having sex, and we cut straight ahead to him being left alone in the house because she has gone away and taken the child.
I hope that's what. Yeah, I hope so.
I think that's what we're
I think that's what I'm leaning towards, but
Yeah.
I think it's just ambiguous enough that you can read the darker meaning here. But
maybe.
But yeah, like he's having the moments of like essentially reminiscing, technologically aided, about everything he had before he messed it up, and then
the way this is done, which I think sort of like is quite well executed, is like he like keeps going into a room and it's like, Oh yeah, here's a very nice memory with her in this room. And he sort of makes his way through the house in this manner, just reminiscing and going back to memories until eventually he's in the bathroom and he's like, all right, time to take a razor blade and some pincers to my neck and take out the grain because
Oh boy, have I had a bad time with this little thing in the last day? I think this takes place over the course of a day.
yes, it's very strange, but yes.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the timeline feels a weird at times, but yes, I think it's extremely dense. I guess we have like a lot of ambiguity, like how far into the future the final scene is.
That much is
where
true.
He wanders the house.
Because I think the thing that makes this like almost feel a bit disorienting. I don't think this would have been disorienting if we started at season 1, but because most of Black Mirror takes place over a slightly longer time, like this goes real fast, right? Because we have, apart from the opening scene of him like being at a lawyer job interview and then coming home, like there's a party, it's in the evening, they go home at midnight, like roughly after midnight, they have this long argument, they make up very temporarily, he obsesses during the night, wakes up, argues some more,
gets very drunk in the process,
goes over to Sleazy Guy's house, and then like I honestly I think like this story could have finished up in the afternoon here.
Yeah.
Like it's less than 24 hours of completely messing up your life.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. It's efficient.
Yeah, and then he gets out the grain and the episode is done.
Yeah. And there we go. It's like, dear listener, after everything you've heard us say, can you believe this wasn't written by Charlie Brooker?
Yeah, because it's about infidelity.
It's about like actual technology and like how it messes up a specific man's life.
Yeah, like I just want to like quickly like bang through the parallels here. Because we have very obviously Crocodile, right? Which is about accessing other people's memories.
Yeah.
And that sort of sanctity being violated.
Yes.
Then that one's actually interested in the uncertainty of memory, like very centrally. Well, not that centrally,
no.
but it gestures at it with some force. This episode is like, no, memories are uncertain, you want the recording device. Then we have White Christmas, which is about a man spiraling and killing someone over it. So that one probably goes further unless you do a very dark read of this episode where Jodie Whittaker is murdered, which I don't think we're given the hints to interpret as such.
No, I think it leans away from that.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible, but you'd have to take that step on your own, I guess.
Yeah.
I think also with White Christmas specifically, like I'm not sure if I'm gonna fully get into this because I kind of did get into this during White Christmas, but it's the characterization of the woman here is kind of similar to me, where it's like seemingly fine on the surface and then like kind of digs into it and like slowly unravels the infidelity a bit.
Yeah.
And
well, it's
this is not a story that's interested in the woman's perspective.
No, like she is shown empathetically, but she is not the focus.
I think this episode is kinder to their female characters than White Christmas, but I don't think it's a huge jump.
No, and yeah, it's just not that interested.
No,
but not in.
I think.
I mean, White Christmas is a low bar.
Yes, but I think the important comparison here is that like the male domestic abuser is shown here to be like whatever the faults of the woman, he is shown to be unambiguously. I don't want to say evil, but like he does horrific. Yeah, like unambiguously
his actions are like in any sense like inexcusable, right? And he is shown to be like quite aware of this.
Mostly, yeah. Whereas in White Christmas, I think the story defends the abuser a bit more.
Yeah, the story it definitely gives you a little bit more like room to go like
poor dude.
Yeah. And I guess like to get into this a bit deeper, like I was annoyed at the pacing of this episode
Really?
Yes, specifically like I was thinking like why the fuck do we have this stupid job interview, right? And I can tell you why. Because not only it accomplishes two things, right? It accomplishes it just like establishes the plot device. I think we could have probably run through that at the party as well, because
we get
weird
more.
Dude alert. We have a weird dude at the party who's like, who's like really into reviewing memories as like a casual free time activity.
Yeah.
And it's just clearly someone who's like enjoying like being a little bit of a faux pas guy and reveling in it. Shit, where was I going?
You were talking about you didn't like the interview and stuff like that.
Right. But the thing that we are being given to understand is that, at least in the protagonist's eyes, he is like professionally finished, right? He's like, oh yeah, no, I'm a soon-to-be disgraced lawyer, baby.
Which I don't know if there's like much clarification on that front, but I also don't think it's actually important.
Well, I think what the episode is trying to give us with that is like the first domino, right? He's already unstable. He's already obsessing about details of this interview. Yes. So he enters the dinner party just like in a completely fucked headspace, and then really takes the ball and runs.
I think we already at the party get the like introduction that this guy is like a bit too self-deprecating already in like an uncomfortable way to the people at the party at the very least. Like, I think the intro, apart from just talking about like the technology, the device we're going to be talking about, is also, like as you said, like partially establishing, I suppose, that he's under stress, but also like that he has this obsessive tendency, right? Like, because we see repeatedly him going through this job interview, and I kind of get that, but like, I don't know, man. Like,
and this is actually a point where I think the episode is very unclear to me, because, like, we see him like obsessing over the like also doing enhanced bullshit on the job interview recording.
True, yeah.
But we see Jodie Whittaker being like in on the interrogation, right? She's like, oh yeah, no, she wasn't like making an she's making a
tick.
Check mark. She's like, oh, you're good, man. And it's very hard because we don't have enough other footage of this world to go, oh no, this guy isn't out of the ordinary, or to go, oh yeah, no, she's just indulging him and trying him to calm down.
I'm leaning towards the latter. I think, like, because the other usage of this we see that isn't either him doing it or him, like, forcing others to do it, I guess, is essentially, like the rest of this world has the energy of treating this as, like, a photo album, right? Like, oh, look at this fun time we had in ambiguous party place, or, like, check out this terrible rug in my hotel room. Like, this is stuff you can do with a phone, right? Yeah. Like, it's a bit less efficient, but by no means is it at all strange. Yeah. Whereas, like, him doing it in, like, a job interview, they'd probably be a bit weirded out if he pulled a phone and started recording what they were saying.
And I suppose, like, also leading a bit in that direction is that he, like, pulls it out in an argument to go, no, let's review this memory of what you stated the day we first met, or something, or on our first date. So, like, we have other people engaging it. I guess we're sort of given a spectrum, right? We have, like, the weird guy who's like, no, look, I'm obsessing over the bad rug I got.
But simultaneously, like, that strikes me as not, like, actual obsession so much as it's like, here's a like it's
Here's
performative.
a dickhead.
Yeah, like here's a performative complaint.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is like logging into Twitter and being
Yeah.
look at this terrible cupcake I got from this store.
Memory posting.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like that's I am given to understand that's within the bounds of reason, even if some people are gonna go like, it's just a cupcake, man, move on.
Yeah. And I think people really want to have those arguments.
Yes.
But yeah, no, and then we're given, like, the guy who's, like, out of bounds, who's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not only using this as masturbation material, I'm telling people about it, baby.
Yeah.
Though he is clearly doing it to get under Jodie Whittaker's skin.
Yeah, there's probably an element of that. I think it's also just like that's one is like further outside the bounds of impropriety or like propriety, I suppose, but like it's not that far, right? Like there's like this strikes me as the kind of like, oh, these are like in their, I don't know, late 30s, they have like slightly inappropriate conversations, and there's just like that one guy who's like slightly further out on the spectrum, and everyone's like, that's our Tom.
Yeah, so here's a really weird thing. Only men review their memories.
Yes. Women don't obsess.
Women only review their memories when forced.
I think like before we fully move on to that, I think there's like an interesting thing where Sleazy Guy goes, "We all do this," and he says "guys," and that could be a gender neutral guys. That part is ambiguous, but a woman answers no. And we go like, you know how women are. They don't masturbate. They certainly don't
but
masturbate.
In fact, it is a shift of topic to her being grainless, and that's the grainless
And
one.
I thought that was kind of interesting, because like, I wonder if the implication is supposed to be like, nah, women do this too, or if it's just like this is a way to segue.
It's someone wanting to leave an uncomfortable topic, I reckon.
It's a well executed social escape.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like, the gender aspect of this episode is so fucking weird. Because surely women care about the past?
You'd think so. Like, okay.
Women always be bringing up the past according to popular stereotypes?
Yeah, like, and... Okay, so, this might be uncharitable.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think this can be very adequately explained by a general tendency that shows up more in early Black Mirror, though it is not universal, of women do not have agency. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't want to be too pointed on this, because I don't think this episode is not horrible about women.
It's a bit doing a bit of erasure. Weirdly.
Yeah, but like this is not me defending the episode, but like simultaneously, this is 2011. This is still common.
Yeah.
Today.
Honestly, my read is that I really want to say it still feels in my heart like Charlie Brooker wrote this episode, I'll be entirely honest.
Absolutely.
But like this episode, in the way that it is written, sort of feels like someone probably was like, I don't really know what women think about when they think about the past. So let me just like not overstep here and just make no statements about that in the episode.
There's probably an element of that. I think to me, like, a lot of it derives from just the idea of like, men act, women react. This is how the plot moves forward when it talks about like straight relationships.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, because I keep in my head at least relating this back to White Christmas, where like the women are there kind of just as obstacles to men. They only react in the presence of men. They do not. And when I say agency, I do not want to say that like they are completely without personality so much as like they do not do things on their own. You know what I mean? Like they do not make decisions, they do not take actions. Thus, it makes sense to me in that paradigm that like the women in this episode do not review things, because that would actually involve them doing things. But I think there's also an element of like, I think Black Mirror, in later seasons, they come to the conclusion that women are kind of people too, it turns out, and are not that different from men. But early Black Mirror, I do not think has realized this at all.
Well, I would like to propose a counter reading of at least this episode that's a bit more charitable. Because, like, this episode, like, not exclusively, but in large part, is about domestic abuse, right?
Yes.
And it is spending a lot of its runtime on, like, specifically that. So I think, and, like, this is, like, worked out like quite actively in the like confrontation scenes, is that like when like pushed and battered, like the only thing Jodie Whittaker can do is just like agree and try to keep calm her crazy boyfriend down so he doesn't like harm her, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like, in this particular context, there is passivity, but it is, like, the passivity of someone who is, like, trapped, right? It is, because it's not that she's not acting because, of weakness, it's because all the room for action is being taken up very aggressively by a dangerous person.
Yes, no, I think that confrontation scene kind of nails it. Like, I do not have any issues with her agency or lack thereof in that scene, because it makes sense. Like, because essentially what she's doing is she's trying to de-escalate by, like, revealing as little information as possible. Because if she just says, like, yeah, I slept with him without any, like... Yeah, like, she can only assume that triggers violence.
And I think that dynamic is not just present there, but throughout the episode. And like, I'm not 100% committed to this reading or anything, but I think that is definitely, like, a factor in why women are so much more passive, right? Because, like, we are given one woman who has an opinion, at least.
Yeah.
Which is...
Brainless girl.
Yeah. And, you know, she's like, she presents an actual viewpoint that's fairly interesting. So there's like, and she is not in this bad situation, so, you know, she can move.
Yeah, like, I think there's an because she I don't know if we explicitly mentioned, but, like, when our protagonist has the police called on him, that's her doing it. That's the grainless girl, and there's a throwaway line where she goes like, "No, I can't show you what's happening. I don't have a grain." But I'm also like, I don't really know what her purpose in that scene is, because the police do not come up again. She doesn't really have anything to do in that scene.
I think it is to, like, contain the escalation, like, mechanically. Right?
Like, to prevent our protagonist from just killing the guy.
Yeah, because, like, it is sort of like a spiraling situation, so, like, with, like, her putting a clock on him, essentially, he is under pressure to, like, do something that is, like, feasible,
right,
even in front of witnesses, and, like, more defensible than murder, at least, and then, like, get out. Because, like, if he kills the guy, you know, the episode remains there. But if he's under pressure, like, he can't really kill the guy, or he has to kill two people, and then the police are gonna show up, and so on and so forth. So it's just, like, to get him out of that house before, like, without needing to, like, have him come to a realization.
Right, I can see that, yeah. So, I have an interesting point, like, because we talked a little bit about White Christmas, we talked a little bit about Crocodile. God, that's a good one, isn't it?
It's the good part of Crocodile.
It is the good part of Crocodile. I like, for whatever our interpretation is, I wish they had delved into a little bit more of the fallibility of human memory, both in Crocodile, but also here. Like, because I think it would have been very interesting, because, like, there's a point where, during the final confrontation, our protagonist goes, like, you guys fucked. Did you have a condom on? And she goes, yes. And then he goes, show me. And, like, I think that could have been an interesting one. And because the implication, obviously, is that, no, he didn't have a condom on. But also, like, in that sort of high-pressure situation, it seems entirely possible that your memories, in being forced to be viewed, would also be warped. Like, I don't know, I think that sort of fallibility of memory could have been very interesting to sort of delve into it. Right?
The episode isn't interested in that, of course. But I think, like, what it's also kind of getting at is that he's not... Like, the condom is just a pretext. because this guy's entire relationship with the grain is just like, I am going to like go out of my fucking way, like at knife point or anything, to view the thing that will upset me the most, right? It's what he does with his own memory.
It's self-harm, but
and then like and like he like forces his wife, he like threatens and badgers and abuses his wife into letting him self-harm with her memories, and she like doesn't want to participate for so many reasons. And I think like there is like a little bit of like, this is like, I am just feeding into this bad situation both to my and his detriment. And like she like tries to lie about it and delete the memories like before he can see them. And like that is fundamentally like what he does.
Yeah, I think there's like, when I'm thinking about like this episode as a whole, I think about it a lot as like entitlement, right? Like we can talk about obsession, and that's quite obvious. He obsesses. He has this technological aid to obsess, and so he goes hard on that.
Yes, and also just like bizarrely, I didn't think of this sooner. This is Archangel stuff, right?
Yes, that's what I was gonna get to.
Yeah.
I think that's like, that side of things I find very interesting. Just this idea of like, hey, you know those like bad tendencies you have? Here's an app. It can make all of those tendencies 100 times worse.
Yeah.
You never have to worry about like having a thought and being like, I guess I just have to let that go. No. You can sit there, you can obsess about it for hours every day. It'll be sick, dude.
Yeah. Like, this episode, like, fundamentally has, like, the Joker one bad day theory of villainy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it is like, no. Like, this guy, who, like, and we're not given to understand that he's, like, a great guy, but we're shown, like, very early on, he has some moral compunctions.
Yeah, some.
And so, you know, he's, like, maybe, like, a little bit less morally upstanding than average, but like he's a regular type guy, and he's just got like a bad habit of reviewing things.
Yeah.
And he is just like given the tools to become like a inconceivably bad version of himself.
Yeah, like I think it's because even without the grain, right, like we have the pointers that like this guy is clearly like, he has these jealous, obsessive tendencies.
Yeah.
Like, because what sets him off is seeing his wife speak to another man, essentially, without him there. And that's enough to start him on this path, at the very least.
And, like, what I find... I haven't, like, sorted through my feelings on this, but what it sort of, like, strikes me about the episode is that, like, he is proven right at every turn.
Yes.
And...
I wonder, because, like, that one is... interesting, right? I think we talked about this a bit in Archangel, that like to an extent that happens, that like there are reasons for the mother to worry, but nothing bad ever really happens apart from her teenage daughter getting pregnant. And that's it. Like whereas here, like there's never a point where he looks into something and he goes, I guess I was wrong. Because like and I think the episode kind of conceptualizes this as a point that like he has to be right to continue obsessing.
Yeah.
And that does not bear out in human psychology, right? Because like what, like let's say there's an alternative version of the script where his wife did not cheat. And he looks through her memories at gunpoint or whatever, and he sees, oh, I guess I didn't find anything. The human response to this, if you have these tendencies and you do not rein them in, is, I guess I didn't look hard enough. Or well, now I'm satisfied. That was a great idea. Let's continue the surveillance. Right? Like that's how these things work.
Yeah, and it's like it just seems a little bit weak to go like, well, for the plot to work, he has to be right.
Yeah.
And like we're not even like the small bone we're thrown like in the other direction is that like, is the interview going that badly? Is he just like fucking spiraling over the guy being weird?
Which he's a lawyer. Like he is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think there's an interesting point there, because in the final confrontation, there's like, the lady lies about everything, right? Like, every step. And this is sensible when you have a violent abuser in front of you. Mostly, I would say. Like, it's at least an attempt to diffuse. Like, she's in a bad situation. There's no good option, but, like...
we're not... Right, like, there is, like, there are, like, during far earlier steps of this, it's like, this could have probably been handled better and more openly, but, like, once we're, like, far enough down that path, once he is, like, shown to be absolutely dangerous, like, it's lying time, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But there's, like, that point where, like, she claims she's deleted it. Yeah. And that seems not irrational to do, right? Like, because we don't have any clear signs that she seems to still be attracted to this sleazy guy, but there's no indication that they're actually, like, continuing an affair. At least as far as I can tell. You can make that interpretation, but, like, I don't think there's any strong proof. So it doesn't seem unreasonable that she would have deleted it. And again, that's a point where you could have said something about the nature of obsession, that not finding stuff is not going to impede on the obsession.
And, I guess that's just, like, a little bit of a weak point.
Yeah. I think also, like, to me, a lot of this episode is about entitlement. And I know that's, like, that might be a big word to use here for a lot of people, but, like, I simultaneously, like, this man feels fully entitled to see everything, like, and the equivalent here that you could make these days, right, is going through someone's phone, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that is, like, clearly what is, like, at least inspiring this episode.
Yeah.
Like, the larger question of, like, our lives becoming more recorded and more, like, parsable.
And there's just, like, this through line of him, like, he never has any compunctions about, like, what he's doing on that front, right? Like, he feels fully entitled. And
again, we are shown by the episode that everybody else is like, you are so far out of line.
Yeah, the closest thing is other people going, like, let's review that job interview, and even then, like, they're not saying, like, you have to. They're saying, like, oh, like, we can help out.
It's a guy who's being a dick for his own entertainment.
True, but, like, certainly not to the extent of, like, I must be able to see all of my partner's communication. And, like, I mean, this guy sucks. That run, like, but it's, I don't know, the thing that I kind of come back to with this episode is that it's interesting that this is not at all a social phenomenon.
No. It's just this guy.
I talked a little bit about this during the episode, that, like, sometimes stories are about how power corrupts, and sometimes it's a story about, check out this guy who's corrupt to the bone from day one, and then he gets a bit of power and shows that he's terrible.
Well, I think the episode is leaning more towards the Joker thesis of, like, it's a guy who has one bad day and, like, absolutely, like, speed runs maxing out all his worst tendencies.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree with that. I just think, like, I think there's a missed opportunity, I suppose. And to be fair, this exact same thing happens in Archangel now that I reflect upon it. But just the idea that, like, this does not seem to be a societal phenomenon. Most people seem to be able to handle this fine. Again, the worst part we get from anyone else, and to be fair, there's not a huge amount of characters in this episode, but, like, enough, right? The worst part we get from anyone else is, like, I get really annoyed at the rug in my hotel room and I show my friends. And, like, that seems recent. It's not like he's bringing up this, like, Dave, that was 16 years ago.
And in a way, I think I want to also compare the episode to Smithereens here. Right? Because Smithereens is a lot more about the tension of, like, is it, like, the society or is it this fucking guy?
Yeah.
And, like, where Smithereen comes down on is, like, you texted and drove, my man.
Well, I think Smithereens says, like, there are issues with this, but, like, simultaneously you can't fully offload your own personal responsibility onto this thing.
And I think that is something that this episode is also tangentially interested in, right? It's interested in, no, this is, like, a really bad or like I hesitate to say that this episode calls this guy like inherently bad, right? Because it is interested in how technology makes him worse by like a lot.
Yeah, and that's like very much the same thing as Archangel, right? It turns like an anxious wreck of a mother into a tyrant.
Yeah.
And same thing about like as I think we've seen more and more the earlier we go, like the idea of like surveillance as tentacles growing into every space left to us as humans.
Yeah, and I think like an Archangel's a weird one because there it's like, no, this is a relic, it is banned now.
Yeah, it is fully ashamed of its own concept.
Yeah. Like, and that's, I don't, God, what an interesting thing to say. Anyway, and I think like, I want to talk about statistics for a moment.
Okay, I love those.
Are you familiar with the statistic of like if you like legalize gambling, like personal bankruptcies will rise by like a significant margin?
I am not, but it makes sense.
It is real and true, right? And like if someone, I think gambling is actually legal here. If they somehow made gambling more legal here, I would be unaffected, I believe. I maybe I have like some tendencies, but like I don't. The odds of me becoming a degenerate gambler are quite low. But statistically, it will hit a fairly predictable, fairly consistent amount of people, right? And at the end of the day, like, those people are just as real as everyone else who manages to make the decision to not do that. And I think if you like really, really zoom out, and I don't think the episode does this in a way that I'm satisfied with, but it does like look at it at least a little bit. Like it does, there is like some amount of reading you have to do, but there is the implication in there that this guy could have just been normal if he didn't have this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
And sure, like,
I think he would still have been an unpleasant partner.
Yeah, but, like...
He'd have to drop it eventually, right? Like, it'd be a bad night every now and then when he's like, you seemed too friendly with that hot dog salesman.
And, like, maybe, reaching here a little bit, but, like, maybe, like, if that tendency is not enabled, maybe he gets better, maybe he reflects a little bit, maybe just moves on to being more normal interests, whatever, right? And I think that is like a point of view I think that is really hard to communicate, right? Because sure, like personal responsibility does not have to not be real for like statistical, for like larger scale effects to be also real, right?
Yeah, like there's like
they're not in opposition.
There's a lot of humans with a lot of different tendencies, a lot of different environmental, biological, social factors, etc. And some of them are gonna be at that tipping point where if you introduce, hey, this app lets you do X, they will take that and it will be bad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's even something as, like, I think there's a lot of these tendencies across society, right? And, like, there's a lot of debate to be had, but, like, just something like firearms, right? Because if you ask someone, like, if you look at the statistics, a lot of kids get killed with their parents' firearms, intentionally or not, often accidentally. If you ask anyone, they will go, well, not me. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, and at some point, and, like, this episode doesn't really hold against that, because it's like, well, I wouldn't do that, but I think, well, maybe I want to immediately contradict myself here, because, like, we have, and I think this episode has aged like a fine wine in this regard, we have, like, the fucking object lesson in, like, our world, in that a lot of people are like, ooh, I really look at my phone more than I want to, right? We have so much technology that we do not like the way we use it often, and go like, I wish that were different, and yet I cannot change myself to be the person that I want to be, even in regards to, like, this, like, minor user decision.
I would go even further with that. And this wasn't really the case in 2011, but nowadays, like, more and more of our communication in so many areas is online and is recorded. Like, we're talking chats with friends, partners, like job interviews, and you do have this ability to, like, like, that job interview didn't go well. What did I write in my personal letter? Let's go back and, like, look at things perfectly. Like, I had an argument with my friend. Was the thing I said, like, did that get misinterpreted? Did I do something wrong? You can obsess like this a good amount, I would say.
And, cut to extremely current technology that is being pitched. There are, like, a bunch of AI pendants now that are like, oh yeah, no, we'll just record everything around you all the time, and then you make a neat little summary of it. So...
I wasn't clued into this.
Oh yeah, no, it's there's, like, some good reporting on The Verge that's like, I don't really want the information and I don't want it to be summarized that I had a bad shit this morning.
Yeah.
And so, and there is, like, specifically, I think it's Victoria Song, who is writing about this, who's like, I don't think I want the transcript of this bad argument I had with a family member to exist for me to return to. And that is something that literally happens in this Black Mirror episode. That, well, actually, it's slightly different, that they go back within the argument, but I think he also goes back to the argument. And, like, that's just, like, something that is, like, being pitched now.
Yeah.
And... here's the thing, like, if you just, like, bracket the AI part of it for a second, because that's too large to get into, I think.
Yeah.
Just, like, the ability to, like, record and recollect, that way, like, there's a lot of practical uses for that, maybe, but, like, we're not equipped to deal with that as a society.
Like, I was gonna say, like, as a very broad point, I find that, like, when Black Mirror talks about, like, surveillance and the ever-presence of these systems, that's when it tends to age the best.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, like, I think it does strike me as very much the same point that much like Archangel says, just like they're like, we humans are designed to psychologically work in certain ways.
Yeah.
We do not remember things eternally.
For good reason.
Yeah, like, at some point, that bad argument you had with your friend becomes, the memory is, that was an unpleasant time, not like, oh, that one thing I said like that, let's go back and review that. Like, there's a point to our brain eventually going, that's enough. We've learned what we can, there's nothing more to this memory.
Yeah.
Like, let's move on with our life.
Yeah, no, like, you know, people just, like, have a bad time sometimes, and then they're like, oh, well, that's mostly forgotten now, and that's fine. That's actually great.
This would be way too dark for this episode, I think. But imagine, like, what this sort of technology would do to someone with who gets PTSD from an event, that event then gets recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's.
I mean, someone might be getting PTSD in this episode.
I think at least, like, 2 people.
Yeah.
Probably more.
Who's to say?
The child is... I don't know. I don't know.
The child's probably too small.
It's optimistic, I would say.
I think we're given, like, 18 months.
You can, like... Emotional memories can imprint way earlier than, like...
Oh, that's very unfortunate for the child in this episode. It
really is, right?
But she's not in the room. It's fine, probably.
But yeah, no, like, overall, I like this episode.
Yeah.
I think it has, like... foibles.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And to be clear, this does not this does not mean that Charlie Brooker or Jesse Armstrong approves of this behavior, but I don't like that jealous domestic abuser gets proven right on every point. It's just a little bit too much, and I want to specify, I don't think I would even have this complaint if we hadn't watched White Christmas.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's... this episode exists in a... I think... Also, just like while we're drawing parallels, we get the blank eyes again, baby.
Yes.
This is the first appearance of the blank eyes.
And specifically, I think it's very meaningful. Well, okay, for the development of Black Mirror, right? Because they do it while they're having sex.
Yeah. And they're remembering themselves having better sex. Which...
huge self-sabotage, by the way, just in every way. But yeah, like, and that... really just direct through line to Striking Vipers, isn't it?
But that's only like a minor connection.
Yeah, it is, but it strikes me how well that translates.
This episode really and it's very bizarre because it's not written by Charlie Brooker, but filing that... just ignoring that for a second.
I don't know, I think it's a lie. I'm starting a conspiracy theory.
I'm starting to think that Charlie Brooker really he has an executive producer credit, and I think he really strained those executive producer muscles. Or the other theory, and both of these can be true even, is that Charlie Brooker just really internalized this episode, because this is an icon. This is an archetypal Black Mirror episode.
I was gonna say, so much of... not only so much directly derived from it, the, blank eyes, just the idea of manipulating your own consciousness. It just feels like the most core Black Mirror episode of season 1, right? Because 50 Million Merits is a bit more out there, and the national anthem is a bit too grounded.
Yeah. And... That's a quite funny element, but I think what sort of in the larger perspective I'm starting to think about is surely you could have another friction point than infidelity.
You sure could.
And yet
I don't know, man. I think once, I hate to tell you this jargon, but I think once a man hits 40 there just isn't more to it than infidelity in there.
I don't know. I get that it's interesting to have recurring themes, but if those recurring themes are nothing to do with technology or capital S society,
yeah,
it's a bit weirder.
Well, I think it's just a comfortable plot structure to an extent. Yeah, and I think the thing that strikes me is how similar all of them are.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, there's infidelity, but the characters and the way things unfold is so similar in all of these.
But yeah, no, it's a good episode. It's a really unpleasant episode.
Yeah.
It's the dinner party. You cringed during the dinner party. I was like, look at these idiots.
Yeah, it's just, there's something about the dinner party of lawyers and doctors and whatever that it strikes a chord within me. I hate it.
But we even have a capital G guy briefly show up.
No, I was gonna say, is this the first weird guy in all of Black Mirror? And I guess 15 Million Merits has to take that credit.
Remind me.
I was thinking either redheaded guy that you hated, or just evil lower class man. Both of them are quite strong contenders.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the most archetypal one, to be sure.
True, yeah.
Because he's just so... blink and you'll miss it. But yeah, no, it's really interested in how our relationship to technology, and how everyone else can be oh yeah, no, look at this dumb carpet, and one person can be I'm going to use this to become
my life.
The worst person I can be. And I think that is probably one of the most prophetic and hitting the nail on the head things Charlie Brooker has. Or I guess not Charlie Brooker.
Allegedly not Charlie Brooker.
Allegedly not Charlie Brooker.
I think Jesse Armstrong is just a pseudonym.
Has had to say about technology. Yeah, no, you will be given the tools to be the worst version of yourself in the Black Mirror future.
Yeah. It's I think this is a deeply revelatory episode to watch after 6 seasons of Black Mirror, right?
Yeah, like all of that is downstream from this, and it's
this episode feels like we're hitting bedrock, right?
Yeah. It feels like a distillation.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to next week where we'll be going into our recap of season 1 and
yeah, no,
what a journey we've been on.
It might become a long one.
I think it must become a long one just by the nature of us and the things we have experienced.
And then we do the recap, and then we do season 7.
Oh, it's gonna be a fucking ice bath. You know, like we're jumping 14 years ahead.
Yeah.
Good lord.
We're gonna get whiplash. It's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be. I'm terrified. I'm a little bit terrified, but we do have a buffer. We do have our recap before then, so I will start trying to immerse myself in the USS Callister sequel, in the Bandersnatch sequel.
Oh yeah, we looked up writers to confirm that this was the only episode not written by Charlie Brooker, and the USS Callister sequel is the only episode with 4 writers.
Oh, good lord, yeah. Well, it's gonna be something to experience, but a little bit ahead still.
Yeah, it's the last episode of that season.
Oh. Well, there you go.
But yeah, no, I've heard like mildly positive things about season 7, but I mostly just haven't heard much at all.
I've heard mildly positive things about a lot of seasons that I wouldn't agree with. But yes, for now, shall we say thank you so much for listening, dear listeners.
Thank you for listening, and see you on the other side.
See you next week.